Hello again. I'm Mark, the chair of the CAFE Board of Trustees. And in case you weren't able to attend yesterday, I'll quickly describe myself once more. I'm a 65-year-old white man with glasses and grey hair. I use he and his, and I'm wearing a light blue shirt and a dark blue pullover.
And I'm Jo, CAFE Managing Director. I'm a youngish woman, white with brown hair and some increasing streaks of silver, and I'm wearing glasses and I use she and her.
What an amazing 2 days we've had together. Thank you everyone for joining us, for asking your questions in the chat, and for spreading the word of total access on social media. And a very special thank you to Joanna and the rest of the CAFE team for all the work that you've put in to organise this conference. Next, I can confirm that the winner of the leaderboard, who scored an impressive, indeed incredible, 1,040 points, is Gabriel Mayer. Congratulations, Gabriel. We will reach out to you shortly about your prize. But before we close the conference, we wanted to give one final award. In this conference, we've talked about the need to ensure disabled people are consulted and contribute to the changes that are happening around us. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many of us have had to convert our jobs and our connections with family and friends into a digital format. This award goes to an organisation whose mission is to make sure those virtual events and meetings, such as this one, are accessible to all. I am delighted to present this special recognition award to Attendable. Sarah and Catherine, who will join us on the screen to accept the award, have been outstanding. In planning this conference, CAFE approached a number of online organisations and platforms. Many of them couldn't even answer our questions on accessibility. In contrast, Attendable listened to our desires for the conference, showed us how to make them come to life online, and made sure that accessibility is at the heart of it all. A huge thank you and congratulations on behalf of the CAFE Board of Trustees and the CAFE team to Attendable.
Yay! We're absolutely, I can't get in the right shot. Sorry, we're absolutely delighted and so thrilled, touched and honoured to accept this award from CAFE and the Board of Trustees. Attendable was set up precisely because Sarah and I are both passionate about making every event accessible and inclusive. And, you know, we believe you can be inclusive if you want to be. And it starts with intent. That's our mantra at Attendable. And the technology needs to catch up a bit because you have to put lots of different things in place to make virtual events accessible. But we're getting there, and there's been phenomenal progress over the last year or so, spurred on by the pandemic. So, you know, we love working with organisations that are accessible and inclusive and want to be. It's our passion and yours as well, and we're absolutely thrilled. It's been a wonderful experience working with you, CAFE, and all the amazing speakers from around the world and all the fabulous delegates. So thank you so much. We're truly honoured. It's our first ever award and we're beside ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sarah and Catherine. And in keeping with the tradition that PRS set last night, I think that deserves a big yay! And please pass our thanks on to the AV team, captioners, international sign language and language translators. As we've said, we've worked really hard to make this event accessible and engaging and exciting, but we know we can always do better. Shortly after this conference, we'll send a feedback survey to everyone who registered. So you can give your comments on what worked, what didn't work so well, and what you want to see at our next conference in 2024.
Thanks, Joe. We know also that many questions went unanswered due to time restrictions, but we're all already working with the speakers to get their responses, and we'll share these with you soon on the CAFE website. You will have access to the platform for several days in case you missed any presentations or you want to check out the resources. We will also soon post all the videos on our YouTube channel to watch on demand. So now, before we close and celebrate with a glass or two of something, or perhaps maybe just go straight to bed, we've got some important calls to action for you all. There was an incredible amount of insight and thought-provoking messages and excellent case studies throughout the conference. So we won't repeat everything, but we would like to focus on some key points.
So here we go. And it's important to note that these calls to action came from you, the audience, and our speakers and panelists, as well as the CAFE team and board. In the sessions that focused on fans, we heard calls for basic rights to access to the game, whether it be attending with a guide or assistance dog, knowing how to get to the venue, or sitting with your own fans. Clubs need to share and publish information so disabled fans know what to expect, how to get there, and that they will be listened to when sharing their access requirements, as well as their feedback on their own experiences. But there was also a request for sports to not only meet the minimum standards, but to go beyond, because when in sports do we ever just want to meet or do the minimum? This is a competitive industry, so we should all be seeking to be the best in access and inclusion. The minimum standards in seating that UEFA referred to yesterday are just that, they're a minimum, and we're still not meeting them. So more needs to be done. We also need more opportunities for disabled people to work in sports, from entry level to leadership. And this won't happen overnight, but the sports industry needs to act now, or we'll be in the same situation as we are today in 10 years' time. If we don't take steps in this direction, we are saying through our inaction that we accept an unjust society and a weaker version of our sports. We heard it from the NBA. Sports need to work together, share best practice, and learn from one another. And this is something Joyce reminded us as well in her keynote speech yesterday. Not only do we need to share best practice, but we need to be honest and transparent and share the mistakes we make so that they aren't made again in the future. We learned that the majority of disabled people are non-visibly disabled. Sports therefore need to expand their focus beyond physical barriers and ensure non-visibly disabled people are also able to enjoy the game. Training, wider education, and services are key components of the solution. Co-design is integral to making sure something is fit for purpose. We saw this come through in several sessions, from technology and innovation, ticketing, running international tournaments, to good governance and long-term strategy creation. Sports should work with municipalities and governments to put the pressure on to make sure that they meet their commitments to European standards and the UN's Convention on the Rights of Disabled People. Today, as we heard from Facundo, is the UN's International Human Rights Day, and the theme is equality, reducing inequalities and advancing human rights. So it was great to have both the UN Human Rights Commission and a senior human rights advisor share with us how disability inclusion fits within the wider human rights sphere, and with a practical example of the upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup in 2023. This afternoon, it was made clear that there is no place for disability hate incidents, and it's up to all of us to call these out when they occur. The International Paralympic Committee showed the power sports can have to remove stigma and raise awareness about disability inclusion. And we've all been invited to contribute to the We the 15 campaign and to make a purple pledge. So what will sports pledge be? What will football's pledge be? We must remember some of the excellent examples and good practice going on. And as Mike mentioned earlier today, we ask you to submit nominations for the new FC Total Access so we can celebrate the positives and share knowledge. Disability access officers play a key role in driving access improvements locally. We would ask you that this role deserves greater recognition and further resources should be dedicated to these champions of access and inclusion. And now a final call, and this goes This is more of a thank you and please continue. And it goes out to all of the disabled sports fans, volunteers, and employees out there. We started the CAFE conference with a session dedicated to hearing from disabled fans about their experiences at away games. Your feedback on matches shapes everything we do at CAFE. Without you, we would not be able to advise UEFA and FIFA on improvements to their tournaments and finals. We would not be able to raise awareness on what still needs to be done to create an accessible and inclusive environment. And we would not be able to create and share relevant guidance. Your feedback validates our demands, and your questions and comments over the past 2 days have reminded sports governing bodies that they have simply not done enough. So please keep pushing, keep sharing your experiences, and at CAFE we'll do everything we can to shine the light on access and inclusion for disabled people and show that more needs to be done for disabled people to take their rightful places in sports.
That's great, Jo. So, you've heard it. The time is now to take action. It has been such a pleasure engaging with you all during this conference. Let's keep the momentum going and continue working towards total access together. In case anyone missed it, we'll finish with the CAFE video one last time that many of the audience contributed to. We wanted to end on this message of sport, accessibility, inclusion for disabled people. So thank you and see you at the next CAFE conference.
CAFE. Sport, accessibility, inclusion for disabled people.
Close-up of a supporter in a red shirt smiling and celebrating. A blue background appears and the text reads Sport.
Sport, 運動
Deporte. Sport.
Sport. Sport.
Sport. Sport.
A selection of images of supporters at various football grounds across Europe. Footage of supporters celebrating. A side-on image of a supporter smiling and raising his right arm. A green background appears and the text reads Accessibility.
Accessibility.
2 people wearing headsets and commentating in a stadium. Text appears Accessibility.
Accessibilitate.
Footage of people accessing a stadium.
Toegankelijkheid. Accessibility.
Text appears Accessibility, with a series of photos of supporters in different locations.
Accessibilità.
A fan in a wheelchair going towards an accessible entrance. A group of children in blue Man City shirts. An orange background appears and the text reads Inclusion. A supporter celebrates.
Inclusione. Incluse.
Kapsama.
Inclusione.
A sign language interpreter looking up at supporters in a stadium. Text appears Inclusion. Footage of fans smiling, singing and hugging.
Inclusion.
A supporter sitting with a guide dog. A fan following a game with a monocular. A supporter with a headset. A supporter on a mobility scooter and 2 fans sitting in a stadium. An image of a group of supporters. A yellow background appears and the text reads For disabled people.
Voor mensen met een handicap.
Pour les personnes en situation de handicap.
Para pessoas com deficiência.
A supporter smiles and celebrates. A series of photos of supporters from across Europe.
Para personas con discapacidad.
Fans smiling and leaving a stadium.
CAFE. Sport, accessibility, inclusion for disabled people.